Right. So in yesterday's class, I had this Java basics taught. What is an object? I explained everything to you. Fine. And then out here in one of the files, test mobile, I also showed you that you can create the object of Firefox driver class. Okay, what this was doing was this was launching Firefox. Okay, right. Now, if you go to the official documentation of Selenium, right, if you go to the official documentation of Selenium, that is, if you go to this website, hold on, just a minute. You go to this website, seleniumhq.org, and out here you will have, hold on, the download link, obviously, as I showed you yesterday as well, right? If you go to this download link, you will have this Javadoc link present out here. Okay, this is the documentation for Selenium, right? If you click on this Javadoc link, right, it will open the documentation for Selenium, and out here, if you look, right, there will be all the classes will be there. For example, this is the class Firefox driver, right? You will be able to understand by looking at it that this class caters to working with Firefox. Okay, right? So no, yeah, Narendra, I am not following the paid videos. The paid videos, they are very, very elaborate. If I try to follow them, then it will become a very elaborate thing and I'll not be able to complete everything. So I'm not covering the paid videos the way it is, but I'm covering it in a different manner. Okay. So over here, out here, you will find in the documentation, you will find WebDriver. This is WebDriver, interface WebDriver. What an interface is, you will come to know, right? In some time you will come to know. But look, there are various types of drivers which are available for us. Okay, drivers such as Firefox driver, Chrome driver, Internet Explorer driver, right? Opera driver, Safari driver is for Safari, right? So all the driver classes, these are the various driver classes. Right, as the name suggests, these driver classes will help us to run the code on various browsers. Right, for example, Chrome driver. Okay, yesterday I made the object of Firefox driver and Firefox was opening. Similarly, if I make the object of Chrome driver, then Chrome will start opening. Right, but before that, we need to go a little into the depth of object-oriented programming. Fine. So I will go back, right? I will go back into my mobile phone class, which had a single variable name, right? This was the single variable name. And in the test mobile class, I had, hold on, I had created two objects of this class. With the two objects, I was able to access this variable. Right. Now, there can be functions as well inside a class. For example, I can make a function known as public void call. Okay. Inside it, I can write calling plus the name of the mobile. Okay, the name of the mobile from which you are calling, you can print that. Right. So out here, when I create the object, I initialize the object. When I call the functions m1 dot call and m2 dot call, I will use these functions. So when m1 calls the call function, right? So name of m1 will be printed. When m2 calls, name of m2 will be printed. Okay. When you run this code, you see that calling Nokia and uh, calling iPhone, right? Okay. Now moving ahead. Okay, moving ahead, what I want to stress out here is that there are two types of functions variable. These are known as, this is known as a non-static global variable, right? This is known as non-static function. Don't look at the error which has come up at the bottom, right? Just be with me. Okay, don't look at that error. Right, so this is non-static global variable. This is non-static function. Right. Now, what is non-static? What is static? Look, non-static is the property of the object. Okay. If I am creating the object of test mobile, alright, M1, M2 are the object references. What will happen is that in the memory, like M1 and M2 are two functions which are created. No, sorry, M1 and M2 are two object references. This is M1, this is M2. Okay, both of them will have the name and call function, right? Okay, fine. But there can be something which is same for all the mobiles, right? For example, in mobile phone, I declare a variable int number of screens. Okay, I declare this variable int number of screens, right? Now I know that every mobile has got one screen, right? So I will have to initialize this variable over here separately for m1, m2. I'll have to write m1 dot number of screens are equal to 1. M2 dot number of screens are also 1, right? Okay, but this does not make sense. We know that the number of screens will always be 1, right? So I am equating every object, I am initializing every object with 1. So what we do is that in this particular scenario, right, we make the field, hold on, number of screens as static. Okay, when I declare it, right, so what happens is that it no longer remains the part of the object. Okay, so what will happen is that it will reside somewhere in the memory over here and is kind of common for all the objects. Okay, I don't need to create the object of the class to access it. Right, so static can directly be accessed with the name of the class. For example, I can write over here, say mobile phone dot number of screens equals to 1. So for every object it will become 1. You can access it with the name of the class. Okay, right? But static stuff, non-static stuff, you cannot access it like this. Okay, for non-static stuff, you have to create the object of the class to access it. Okay, so I hope you got my point. Why am I teaching you? It will become very clear to you in some time. Right? So just a minute. Yeah. So out here, just a minute. Yeah. So out here, basic thing is that static is something which can directly be accessed with the name of the class, and it is not the property of the object. To access the non-static stuff, you have to create the object of the class. Okay, right? Now moving ahead. Okay, moving ahead, we will be using this static a lot. Hold on. No, you have for the object. If you want to access the object, you need to actually create the object of the mobile phone class. You need to create the object of the mobile phone class. Alright, to access the non-static things. To access the static things, you can directly access it with the name of the class. Okay, right now, can you show us how to import Selenium Java classes? You mean the jar files? Do you mean the jar files out here? I'm not sure. Okay, it's very simple. If you want to include the jar files, you right click on your project. Okay, after right clicking, you will get an option, properties, the last one, go there. Right, after you go there, you will have the Java build path option, fourth from the top. Okay, Java build path. You click on that, and from here, you will have, this is the Java build path. You will have add external jars button, which is out here. You click on this and go to your Selenium directory, include this jar, Selenium Java jar, and also include all the jars under lib. Okay, fine. So now moving ahead, right? Now how all these things are used in Selenium. In Selenium, everything, as I told you, is inbuilt. You have to create the objects of the inbuilt classes. Right. For example, hold on, I'll just make a new class known as Selenium Basics. Okay. Yesterday I told you you can create the object of the class Firefox driver. Hold on. Right, you import this class. Okay, this will open a blank Firefox window. Okay, and if I run this code, you will see that it will open, but on my PC I have done something with my Firefox, as I told you earlier as well. It gives issues, right? But I'll be fixing that very soon. I have not deliberately fixed it today because we won't be going into that much extent or extensive thing. Just a minute. Right, so you see that Firefox is opening. Right, so out here you can also open Chrome. Right, you can write out here, you can create the object of the internal class Chrome driver. Right, in the documentation I showed you, right, there's a class known as Chrome driver. Just a minute. Yeah, you create the object of the class Chrome driver like this. Okay, many of you must have done it. Okay, no, it is not static. What is static? This is, I'm just creating the object. Variables and functions are static. I'm creating object over here. Okay, so out here, if I open, if I need to import Chrome driver, and when you run this, you expect a Chrome to open up, but most of you will get an error. You see illegal state exception, right? Most of you will be getting this exception, right? And the exception says that the path to driver executable must be set by this property webdriver.chrome.driver system property. Okay, this one, right? So what you need to do is that first of all, first of all, go to the official document or official site of Selenium under the downloads tab. Just a minute. Yeah, under the downloads tab, right? If you scroll down, you will see third-party drivers. All right, go to the Google Chrome driver. I was just telling him how to import it. I was just explaining in how to import it. Okay, so this is the Google Chrome driver. Selenium was already imported in my project. I was just telling him how to import it, right? So you go here and you go to the latest release out here and just a minute. Yeah, go to this link, right? This link, I'll just give you this link. Probably if you want, I can directly give it to you on chat, WebEx chat, right? And you download the Chrome driver exe file for your operating system. If you have a 64-bit OS and if you take up Chrome driver 32-bit, it doesn't matter, right? That's okay. You can do that. Fine. So you download it. I'll just download it. Hold on. I already have it. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Just a minute. Okay. I have downloaded it. Just a minute. If you look at the folder, This is your Google Chrome 32-bit.zip. I'll right click over here on this file and I will select the option extract all and extract it. Hold on, hold on. Okay, right. So you will find this exe file, Chrome driver exe file, right? What you need to do is that I'll just keep this file in my F drive, some other folder, Ashish folder. I don't run this file. Okay, you need to write this line. You need to write this line system dot set property webdriver dot chrome dot driver. Okay, and in the value you will have to write the path of Chrome driver exe. Okay, path of Chrome driver exe is out here. F drive Ashish Chrome driver dot exe. Right, so I have actually put my Chrome driver out here. Fine. So when you run this code, you see that a blank Chrome is opening up. Now, why is this required and what is this line? Look, for running Chrome, you just cannot run it directly. You have to get this exe path and set it in the system properties. System is an inbuilt class in Java. Okay, and when I write system dot, I get a lot of static functions in this class. I told you, right? Static stuff can directly be accessed with the name of the class. Right, so that's what I get. I get number of functions out of which I use the function set property. Okay, fine. So I hope you are getting my point. Right. So out here, just a minute. Just a minute, guys. Right. So out here, this is how you work with Chrome driver. Similarly, to work with Internet Explorer driver, you have, yes, for Firefox you don't need to do all these things. Only for Chrome and IE you need to do. It's meant like that. Okay, you have Internet Driver Explorer. Sorry, Internet Explorer driver. Sorry. Internet Explorer driver. You need to create the object of this file and you need to run it. So you'll see an IE opening, but it will not open directly. You will get an error. Similar to Chrome, you will get an error. What you need to do is that for IE as well, you need to download an exe file. Okay, so for IE, you go to Selenium hq.org, go to the download link and you will have the Internet Explorer driver server written out here. Okay, based on your operating system, whether your operating system is 32-bit or 30 based on your IE, whether it is 32-bit IE or 64-bit IE, you download the file. Okay, I have a 64-bit IE. I'll download this. Just a minute. Right, you'll have it here and you extract it. right? So you will have this iDriver server.exe coming up. So similarly, I'll also put it in F drive Ashish, right? And what you need to do is that for I as well, you need to write the same piece of code in a similar way. You need to write system dot set property webdriver dot I dot driver. Okay, right. And you can give the path to the exe file of iDriver. Okay, right. So now when you run this, hold on. You see that I opens up, right? I has opened up, right? This is I. Fine. So at least I'm able to open the browser and I'm able to tell you what the browser is supposed to do. If you look at the documentation, right? Yeah, it works, but Selenium is little unstable on I, and it gives issues on I as well. So you have to be a little careful. Right now, hold on. Who's added me? Okay, fine. So now moving ahead. Right, moving ahead. I have all three drivers and all everything. If I go to the website again, if I go to the website seleniumhq.org, and if you look at the Java docs, hold on. You scroll down, open WebDriver. Right, there are other drivers as well. Right, for example, a driver like Safari driver, it will automate on Safari. Okay, though it is little unstable right now. Okay, remote WebDriver we will be studying in detail. Remote WebDriver is something which is used at the time of grid. Right, when you have to run the test case parallelly. Similarly, Opera driver is used on Opera, right? So there are various types of drivers, right? One of them is HTML unit driver as well. Okay, this is a little interesting. If I create the object of HTML unit driver, I write driver equals to new HTML unit driver. Okay, right, hold on. Okay, HTML unit driver, you create the object and hold on, let me comment out I, and then you write driver, or you just run it like this. You will not see any browser opening up. Nothing. Okay, you will not see anything happening. This browser, this driver does the testing without opening the browser. It sends a silent request to the server. It gets the response from it, right? And you will never see any browser opening up in it. And it is very, very fast. As I proceed, you will come to know, just telling you for your information, that it is also very, very fast. Right. Now, the question arises that each and every class is different for every driver. Okay, Firefox driver is different, Chrome driver is different. Okay, iDriver is different, HTML unit driver is different. Do I have to learn these driver classes separately? Are you getting my point? Each driver out here, for example, iDriver, will have a set of functions. Say I dot, you will get the functions. So should I study each and every driver differently? No. The answer to that question is no. And the answer actually lies in the concept of interfaces in Java language. Right. So first I'll tell you about interfaces and then we will actually go inside the depth of these drivers. Okay. Right. So right. So these are the different drivers and that's what I'm going to cover now, that you don't need to study the internals of each and every driver separately. Okay. You need to just understand the concept of interfaces in Java language. Okay. So inside my source folder, okay, what I'll do is that I'll create a new package and I'll call that package as interfaces. Right. What is a package? Package is like a folder inside a folder. Okay. If you go to your project, if you go to the physical location of the project, right, weekend batch, you will see the source folder and under that you will see the interfaces folder. Right. I'll teach you interfaces under this folder. So what is interface? What is an interface in object oriented programming? Fine. So interface is something which tells you what the system is supposed to do, right? For example, um, if you go to any website, okay, when you open a website, the UI of the website is an interface for you, right? It kind of tells you that what this is supposed to do for you, okay, right? So look, these are old drivers basically for like I've never used the marinate driver, but the event firing driver is actually used for firing complex gestures like moving mouse and all. But we have got different things for it right now, so we actually don't use an event firing driver right now. Okay, right. So now, hold on. Coming over to the concept of interfaces, as I told you, an interface is something which tells you what the system is supposed to do. Right. You buy a book, right? When you buy a book, read the cover face of the book, right? The cover face is like an interface for you. Okay, it tells you what the book is supposed to do, right? Or what the book is offering you, right? So similarly, we have got interfaces in Java, right, which tell us what the system is supposed to do, right? For example, I will create a new interface, right? And I will call that interface as, say, mobile, okay, right? Or a phone, simple interface phone. All right, fine. Now in interfaces, we have the method declaration only. For example, I'll make a method public void call. This call method is inside the interface phone. Fine. Okay. And similarly, public void send text. Okay. So the semicolons I've put over here, I have not given any method body over here. I've just declared the functions. If you look at my interface, you will come to know that what phone is going to offer you. Okay. Now what we do is that we have something known as implementing classes for the interfaces in Java. Right. What I mean by saying this is that, hold on, we make classes like this. I'll make a new class, fine, and I'll call that class as, say, say Nokia phone. Right. So Nokia phone is a phone. Okay. And in Java, right, we can write like this, that Nokia phone implements the phone interface. By writing implements the phone interface, by writing public class Nokia phone implements phone. What I mean to say is that Nokia phone will implement all the functions from the phone interface. Okay, you move your mouse over this error and you can add the unimplemented methods. You'll get the option. Fine. So you can actually give body to the functions which were there in the phone interface. Okay, in the call function I can write, say, Nokia calling. Right. In sendText function I can write, say, Nokia sending text. Okay, right. And these signs over here, @override. Okay, these means that these functions are coming up from the phone interface. Okay, right. So just a minute. And I just remove them. You can also remove them. Okay, it doesn't matter. We just keep them so that when a layman looks at your code, he is able to understand. Okay, what is implements here? So this is the question, what is implements here? Implements is a keyword, is a reserved keyword in Java. Okay, if a class is implementing an interface, okay, then you write it like this. This is the syntax. But it becomes mandatory for that class to implement both the functions. Even if I remove one function, I will get an error. It is mandatory for me to implement both the functions. Okay, right. So I'll come over to that, Samir. Just hold on. Right. So if a class is not implementing all the functions, okay, I say that fine, Nokia class is implementing an interface phone. What is interface having? Interface is having all the method declarations. Right, then you will get an error. So it is mandatory for the class, that is for sure. Right. Similarly, I can create a new class known as just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, I can create a new class known as, say, iPhone. Okay. And in this, I will write iPhone class is also implementing the phone interface. Okay, so obviously you will get an error because you have to implement both the functions. Right. So you move your mouse over the error and iPhone implements. Hold on. You are not getting a quick fix. Anyways, I'll get it from here. Right. Inside these functions, I will write iPhone calling and iPhone sending text. Okay. So basically, I have got one interface, phone interface, and probably my both the classes, Nokia and iPhone, they both are implementing. So we have a scenario like this. Yeah, my interface you can say is a collection of functions, right? So we have a scenario like this. Just a minute. Right. We have it like, just a minute. We have one interface and two classes implementing the interface. Okay, so there are two classes which are implementing this phone interface. Okay, one class is iPhone and one class is Nokia. Right, fine. But what did I achieve out of this? What is the motive of doing this? What do I achieve out of this? I could have simply not created the phone interface. I could have simply created two different classes, iPhone and Nokia, with the function names and all everything. Are you getting my point? What is the use of an interface when, I can create my own classes? The use is it gives a kind of structure to the application. If tomorrow a new phone comes up, say Android phone or any LG phone or any company's phone, it comes up, you will know that fine. If that phone is implementing the interface, it is at least having call and send text functions. Probably the implementation of these functions can be different inside the class. Okay, so I hope you got my point, right? I hope you got my point. What I mean to say by this, that an interface is something which will be incomplete. It will just have the declarations and the classes will implement the interface. The advantage will be that our whole concept, it gets a kind of structure. The whole project, it gets a kind of structure. Right? Now, just a minute. Yeah, Neeraj, tell me. Okay. Now, moving ahead. Right. Moving ahead, I told you that if a class is implementing an interface, right, it has to implement all the functions. Right. If it by chance, if it is not implementing all the functions, okay, right. So it will throw an error. In this case, we can call the class as abstract class. Abstract means, in English, abstract means something which is incomplete. So this class is incomplete. It is not implementing all the functions of the phone interface. Right. So we'll call it an abstract class. Now, how is abstract class and what are the things behind it? I'll tell you, just be with me for some time. Right. Now, how interfaces, they are helpful in Selenium. Okay, they are helpful in Selenium because if you go to the official website and if you look at the documentation, right, whatever is written in the italics is interface. Okay, right. For example, if you look at the whole documentation, this mouse, I always give this example. Okay, this mouse is an interface. Event firing mouse, HTML unit mouse are the classes and all. Out here, if you look at this carefully, then WebDriver is an interface. Technically, WebDriver is an interface. Then, if you scroll to the top, you will find an action interface, which is having few functions related to complex user gestures like moving mouse and all everything. We will study these things. Okay. Right, now let's come to the WebDriver interface. If you look at the WebDriver interface, then this is the main interface. All the driver classes which I had just told you, iDriver, Firefox driver, Chrome driver, all these drivers, they implement the WebDriver interface. So whatever functions are there inside this WebDriver interface, these are the functions. Those functions are there inside these classes. Sorry. Right. Those functions are there inside this. Just a minute. Yeah, those functions are there inside these classes. So you really don't have to worry. For example, after opening the browser, if I have to go to a website, then the function is uh, get. Look at this function. It says that loads a new web page in the current browser window. Okay, so this get function is there in the interface, right? So it will be there in all the classes. If you check it out, right? If you go above and if you look at Selenium basics, right? Firefox driver or Chrome driver or iDriver or any driver, okay, it will have the get function, which will get you to a particular URL. Okay, with that object you can call that function. So that is the main important thing. You really don't have to worry that how system will work, whether you will have to understand all these separately, right? I.get, right? Internet Explorer driver dot get. Similarly, HTML unit driver also I can write get function. So all the functions would be same. Okay, right? So right, I'll tell you in some time. I'll come over to HTML unit driver in detail. Okay, I'll just come over to it in detail. Right. So what I mean to say, the functions they are same. So all the driver classes, it's very easy to work with them. Right. Now let's come back to interfaces. Right. Phone was an interface, and Nokia phone and iPhone were two classes implementing the interface. Both of them had the same functions, but the implementation was different. Okay, now let me create an object, or let me create a class known as, say, test phone out here inside the interface package, right? And I will create the object of the class Nokia phone, and we will create the object of the class iPhone. So I can create the objects very well. I can call the function, say Nokia phone dot call and iPhone dot call. I can call the respective functions. When I run this, it will print Nokia calling, iPhone calling. Okay, right. Now in between I talked about abstract class. Okay, abstract class is something which is not complete. Yeah, get is a function inside WebDriver interface. It is implemented by all the classes like Firefox driver, iDriver, all these classes, they are implementing this. Okay. So now if suppose Nokia phone out here decides not to implement send text, suppose it will throw an error. But I can get rid of this error by writing abstract. Look, as a tester, you don't need to know these details, and I also fail to understand why people ask it in interviews. But I feel somehow you don't need to you know these things. But still, I'll teach you, right? So you have to declare the class abstract. But if I declare the class abstract, you cannot create the object of the class. Abstract means incomplete. The class is incomplete. So if it is incomplete, then why are you trying to create the object of the class? That's the motive, right? And moreover, you can't even create the object of an interface. You cannot write new phone because interface in itself is abstract. Okay, interface has, you see, you'll get an error out here. Interface has nothing. It's just got the declarations, right? Okay, so you cannot just create the objects of abstract classes and interfaces. You can create the object of concrete classes which implement all the functions of the interface, right? Fine. But anyways, keep this apart. In Selenium, you will not require this. Okay, just remember you cannot create the object of an interface. All right. Now, hold on. Right. Now, moving ahead, this is clear. This is very clear to all of us that I'll come over to that question after some time. Not right now, probably by third or fourth class. Okay. Now out here, uh, if if I'm opening the browser, like let's go to Selenium basics, let's go back, and somebody was asking me, now tell me what is the usage of HTML unit driver. Okay, look, the usage is, if you look at this, I'll comment everything and let's go to HTML unit driver, right? I'll just print over here driver dot get title. Get me the title of the page. Say I go to the page bbc.com. Fine. So when you run this, you will not see the browser opening, but behind the scenes the request will be sent. The response will be received from BBC, and you see that this is the title of BBC homepage. When is this used? Like for example, you are testing on a Unix box. For example, we have an operating system like Unix box on which there is no user interface. You don't have the browser installed and all everything. So you can use HTML unit driver there. Okay. Moreover, this driver is also very fast, very, very fast as compared to other drivers, because the other drivers, they launch the browser, then time is wasted in it. Okay, right? So this is the difference, and this is where it's used. All right. Now, suppose going to the next level, right? This level is clear that I have got an interface. All the classes they implement the interface. Similarly, WebDriver is an interface, and all the classes they implement that interface, and that's why all the driver classes they have the same functions, right? Now, suppose you have to actually carry on the testing of a website, and you want to open the browser dynamically. That is, based on your need, I want to open Chrome, test the app on Chrome, probably close Chrome, and then open, say, Mozilla, test the same app on Mozilla and Chrome, and close Mozilla after that, and then right. So how will you try to implement this scenario? Okay, so for example, I'll just make a new class known as scenario, wherein I need to open a browser first. Okay, I'll declare a variable, say string browser equals to Mozilla. right? Now, based on the browser which I write over here, okay, I'm just writing it in the code. Later on, we can read it from an external source like an XLS file or an XML file, right? So what I mean to tell you out here is that if in my external source I'm changing the browser name, your script should be dynamic enough to open that browser and test on it. How will you do it? Can anybody tell me? Anyone?
Condition to check whether it is equal to Mozilla IE or Chrome, and accordingly we can invoke the corresponding driver of that.
Okay, if I try to write like this, if you like you say, if I write that fine, if the browser is equal to Mozilla, then I open Mozilla and test on Mozilla. Else if the browser is equal to Chrome, then I open up Chrome and test on it. And else if the browser is equal to I, then I open up I and test on it. But will you write the complete code of Mozilla, Chrome and I separately over here? This is the question. This doesn't make sense. For example, just a minute. That is a different thing. I'm not talking about parameterization right now. Parameterization means reading from the file. Okay, so I'm not reading from the file. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying that I want to dynamically open the browser and do the testing. Right. Over here, if I'm opening Mozilla, right, if you look at the Selenium basics file, right, I'll have to write the Firefox driver code here. Right. Okay. If I am opening from Chrome, then I'll have to write this Chrome driver code here. Then for I'll have to write the I driver code here. But this is not good. This does not look practical.
Or what we can do is we can create the reference of WebDriver and pass the corresponding driver class of Firefox at the runtime.
Yes. Yes. Okay, Mir Sufyan, I'll start giving you the exercises, but not right now, after a few classes. Yeah, so our is something else, but we are getting a partial. The answer to this lies again in the concept of interfaces. Okay, let's go back to interfaces. Hold on. Right. So this was my test phone class. I had created the object of Nokia iPhone. Okay, I can call all the functions of the iPhone over here. I can call iPhone.call, iPhone.sendText. Okay, iPhone dot sorry, right. And when I run this, it prints everything: iPhone calling, iPhone sending text. If in case iPhone is having its own feature which is not coming from the interface, for example, a function like public void, say iTunes. This feature is only there in iPhone. It is not coming from the phone interface. It can also have this feature, right? And from test phone, I can call it i.itunes. I cannot call it from Nokia, obviously. Right? Fine. Now, there is a different way out here. Look at this carefully. Right? People at times they get a little confused. Right? Over here I'm creating the object like this. Nokia n equals to new Nokia phone. Right? Now I'll create the object like this. Say phone P equals to new iPhone. So this is a little different way of creating the object. Okay. What did I gain out here? What is the difference between this line number 15 and line number 8? The difference is that I am writing over here the reference of an interface equating to the class which is implementing that interface. iPhone class is implementing the phone interface, right? I've taken the reference P of the phone interface but equated it to the object implementing it. So with P, I can call the function like call syntext, okay, right? Both the functions of iPhone will be called, but I cannot call a function like iTunes. Only those functions which are there in the iPhone class and coming up from the phone interface, okay, they can be used like this, right? If I write over here P dot say iTunes, I will get an error. So when I create the object like this, with P I can only access the objects of the interface which are implemented in the class, right? But what is the advantage then? Okay, what is the advantage? I hope you are able to understand. If you are not able to understand, then please let me know. Okay, right. So what is the advantage? Okay, the advantage is that I can also write, just a minute. I can also write like this, say, right. So out here, yes, out here I've created the object of iPhone, equated it to phone interface. I can only call the functions from the phone interface, right? Similarly, I can write like this, phone say P1 equals to new Nokia phone. So with P1, I can access both the functions of Nokia phone coming up from the iPhone interface. Okay, so when I run this code, you will get an output like, okay, sorry. When I run this, see that iPhone calling iPhone sending text, Nokia calling Nokia sending text. Now the twist comes up. The twist comes up out here. Okay, the twist comes up out here that, hold on, if I write phone X equals to new iPhone, right? When I call X dot call, it will call the function from iPhone. Now I make X point towards new Nokia phone. I can do that because the reference is same. Earlier X was pointing towards iPhone, now it's pointing towards Nokia phone. Now if I call X dot call, it will print from Nokia. When you run this, see iPhone calling and Nokia calling. right? Okay. So I hope you are getting my point. All right. Fine. Now, moving ahead. Moving ahead, we can use this concept. Interface has always should always be implemented. That is a global thing, right? I can say like phone, say z equals to null, and based on my requirement, I can make z point towards new iPhone or new Nokia phone. Whatever is my requirement, I can make x point towards that particular object. And that's what happens in Selenium. Why can't we use p.itune? Because itune is a function which is from the iPhone class. It is not from the interface. When you are creating objects like this, you can only access the functions which are coming from the interface. That's how it's made. What if we want to call that? Then you'll have to create the function. Then you create the original object. Okay. Or you can do something known as object casting, which I will not go into right now. I don't want to confuse you guys. Right. Now we all know that the web driver is an interface. I explained this to you. That web driver is an interface and all the other classes are implementing the interface. Okay. Right. Hold on. Okay. So guys, let's do one thing. Hold on. Let's break.